Is this a great game or what? With the Hall of Famer, my dad, Tim Kirkshin. I am Jeff Kirkshin. Welcome to another episode. Dad, I want to make sure everybody who's listening right now took the time to listen to Steve Sparks yesterday. He was so great. Dad, I edit the podcast, right? And I listen to it basically 2 times after just living it. And I listened to it on my way home from work, which I rarely do because I've already listened to it twice, right? No need to go on the stream. It's that good. I had to listen back to it, Dad.
Right. Hilariously funny, incredibly insightful, and a seam head of all seam heads. And he's a former player. Amazing.
Amazing. We have a Hall of Fame baseball pitcher going to be joining us next week, next Wednesday. So keep your eyes out for that. And Dad, it is officially, it's gonna be May. You know what I mean? You get my Justin Timberlake reference there?
Of course not. What does that mean? Is that one of his favorite songs?
It's gonna be me. It's an NSYNC reference, but the way he says it, it sounds like it's gonna be May. So it's like a meme. Right. So it's May the 1st. I'm falling on deaf ears here. It's May the 1st.
Sorry,
and
Jeff. I'm
officially,
so bad at this.
Dad,
yes.
When you bring up Mordecai Three Finger Brown, I give you the same reaction. Don't worry. We both have our strengths and weaknesses. I'm a DIYer, and you're great at feeding the dogs. I know music. You know baseball. This is what makes our podcast great. So don't stress about it.
Right.
Anyway, 1 month of the baseball season, another month, I should say, is in the books.
Right. But more important, Jeff, we are taping this today on your 3-year wedding anniversary.
Yeah.
To Emily, and in that time you've had the most beautiful little girl, McKinley Hope. I am so proud of you with everything that you've done, and it is, you sent out a little video to our family this morning. It was a little video to McKinley saying this is what our lives have been like for the first 3 years. It just brought a tear to my eye. It was so good. I'm just so sorry, Jeff, that I couldn't be there that day 3 years ago. I'm sorry.
Yeah, right. You were at the bar having a great time at my wedding.
That was a tremendous wedding. We had a tremendous time. Now, what is I know your plan, but tell everyone what your plan is for your anniversary night with Emily.
Well, yeah, my wife, Emily, she said, the number one thing I want to do for our anniversary is for you to record a podcast with your father. So we're doing it. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, we're headed to the airport because we're going to go back to Las Vegas. For those who don't know, I lived in Vegas for 5 years. My wife was born and raised in Las Vegas, and her parents still live out there. So we're doing kind of an extended weekend trip to Las Vegas, where we did get married. And no, Elvis did not perform the wedding ceremony. But we're going to be there. We're going to be in her parents' pool with McKinley, our daughter, and just kind of kicking it, taking a couple days off. So when you're hearing this podcast on May the 1st, I am going to be in a pool in Las Vegas. It's going to be incredible. I can't wait to get a little time away.
Well, that's great, Jeff. I remember our 3rd anniversary. It wasn't quite as good. I remember taking your mom out to my favorite restaurant, and I really just wanted to wine and dine her at my favorite place, and it was a complete disaster. I dropped my tray. They had to come in and clean up everything. It was just awful.
If you went to a place with a tray, Dad, it can't be that great.
It was a joke, Jeff.
Hey, what was the place your dad, my grandfather, the original Jeff Kirkshin, Pop, what was the
Flaming Pit? The Flaming
Pit. But what was the Old Country Buffet? Was the other place.
Right.
And I remember growing up going there with Nana and Pop, thinking this was like fine dining, right? You're a kid. I was like, they have everything.
Right. It was great. Those were the days. So I'm sorry you don't get like a luxurious meal out tonight, Jeff, but you're going to see Emily's parents, and that's more important than anything. So all kidding aside, Jeff, I'm really, really happy for you and such a great day. And I'm just so proud of you and Emily and McKinley Hope. So can't wait to see you in person again.
Thank you, Dad. I appreciate that. And all kidding aside, as well, I've Googled, and I'm not being silly. I've Googled restaurants inside Philadelphia International Airport to find, like, how it's always that one restaurant you're like, oh, we're not gonna eat there. It's a
Right.
little too nice or whatever. We're not gonna like go get a steak dinner at the
Right.
airport,
Right.
but we want to go to a place with a nicer bar and a place to sit down. We're actually gonna go to the airport earlier than normal, so like a time that you would usually get there.
Right.
We're gonna go there and actually eat dinner. So we'll get there 3 hours before the flight, but totally on purpose, not like you, where it has to be done for every domestic flight. Dad, thank you so much for bringing it up. But let's dive headfirst into the takeaways. What's going on?
Well, it was a great month of April, March and April. As I've said multiple times on the podcast, Jeff, it's been as unpredictable a first 5 weeks of the season as I think I can ever remember. So many crazy, quirky, ridiculous, beautiful things have happened so far. Just another reminder of why we're doing the show, and that why we're doing it 3 days a week is amazing stuff happens every day if you're paying attention. And maybe the most amazing part of April was Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge has played this is now through Tuesday. So, because we have to update because you're traveling tonight. Through Tuesday, he played 30 games and he'd reached base 69 times in 30 games. So the only other Yankee to reach that many times through 30 games was Lou Gehrig, who reached 71 times in 1931. This is what Aaron Judge is doing, following a season that was arguably the greatest season ever by a right-handed hitter, and he's even better this year if that is possible. And he just hit home run number 324 of his career, passing Ted Williams on the list of most homers first 10 seasons and tying Frank Robinson on that list. I mean, these are enormous names in the game, and this is what Aaron Judge is doing on a daily basis. I just hope everyone who's watching is understanding what they're watching, because he is setting records virtually every day. It's amazing.
I saw, Dad, and I want to confirm this. If he like struck out his next 70 at bats, he would still be above like the league average.
Yeah, Jeff, it's if you start playing with the numbers, they're really, really scary. I mean, the league is hitting, like 239, the major leagues, and he's hitting over 400, and he's doing it with power, and he's doing it with extra base hits. And when he doesn't get a hit, he walks. It's really been breathtaking to watch him the first month of the season. On a different note, what I love so much about baseball is how the light goes on at certain times with certain players. And you look at what Carson Kelly, my favorite name, my first daughter's name is Kelly, my first grandson's name is Carson Kelly. He's 30
Perfect.
years old. He's in his 10th major league season. He came into this year with a 681 OPS, and through Tuesday, his OPS was 1.415. The light went on. He hit fourth for the Cubs the other day, and the Cubs have a really, really good lineup. He has played in 16 games this year and has 7 homers. The last Cub catcher to hit more homers than that in their first 16 games was Gabby Hartnett, Hall of Famer, in 1925. That's what Carson Kelly has done. And he's one of a million standouts in the month of April, because we didn't see this coming from him. But something's happened. This doesn't happen in the NBA, Jeff, where suddenly somebody is the best three-point shooter in the league. Well, this guy is certainly on the list, and he's had an amazingly productive month of April. It has really been fun to watch.
Yeah, there's not a lot of Lynn sanity moments that we have, right? Like when Jeremy Lin just took the league by storm. We don't have those anymore.
Right. By the way, Missy Motha, one of our producers at ESPN many years ago, did a little Jeremy Lin demonstration on the court, on the outdoor court at ESPN. And Bruce Bowen, one of our analysts at the time, was trying to show everyone how you have to guard Jeremy Lin in order to slow him down. So in order to have somebody be Jeremy Lin, I was Jeremy Lin for an afternoon at ESPN, dribbling the ball up the court so Bruce Bowen could show everyone this is how you guard Jeremy Lin. It was a highlight for me. It was really, really fun and really cool that I got picked to do this. All I had to do was dribble the ball up the court, put it between my legs a couple times. It was hilarious.
Dad, usually they would get like an intern on the campus. Hey, you're going to be Jeremy Lin, but they got the 50-plus-year-old at the time,
right,
baseball analyst to do it, and it was one of your prouder moments of your career. Hey, a lot of people, I know you don't like social media, but a lot of people when that video dropped said, hey, Tim can handle, which we know, and you don't like talking about yourself.
Not the point.
You can handle.
I was about a foot shorter than Jeremy Lin, so Bruce Bowen was guarding a guy who's like 4'7".
Here's how you guard him. You just put your hands up. You can't go anywhere.
All right, Carson Kelly, we talked about the light going on. The light still hasn't gone on for the poor Rockies. And again, Jeff, I take no pleasure in speaking about this because I covered the 88 Orioles that lost 21 games in a row. And the game is unhealthy when a team is that bad. And the poor Rockies were 4-25. Jeff, they got to April with already 2 different 8-game losing streaks. And to my astonishment, 2 other teams have done that in this century. 2003 Tigers, which I remember, and the 2016 Braves had 2 8-game losing streaks before we got to the month of May. Incredible.
I was really excited, but I couldn't make the stretch. They're playing the Braves, Wednesday night, so we're recording Wednesday day. And Chris Sale is pitching against the starting pitcher is Chase Dollander, right? And when I first saw the name, that's how you pronounce it. I was hoping we could swing it to Dollander, Sale, Dollar, but it's not going to work. I'm so desperate to find one that you don't see, and I think it needs to be like a Lively and a Swift, because then you wouldn't really pick up on Taylor Swift and Blake Lively drama, but I don't know.
I would have never come up on Jeff. Just keep trying, okay? The day you stump me on one of those is probably the worst day of your whole life. It means I have corrupted you so badly that now you're looking at the box scores in the completely wrong way. You're trying to match up names instead of looking at who did what and what all of this means.
And the problem is, now I get really frustrated because I work days ahead, and when a team is undecided on their starting pitcher, I just throw my hands up. Like, how am I supposed to work if you don't tell me who the starting matchup is going to be? I get really upset about it.
That is beautiful, Jeff. Okay. Again, another takeaway from April. The strikeout rate, as we know, is completely out of control, as it has been for 15 years. We're going to break the record again this year for strikeouts. And let's be clear, Jeff, part of that reason is this is the hardest hitting environment in baseball history. I believe that. The stuff that pitchers have today is just so unbelievably good. The velocity, the secondary stuff, the movement, it's just absurd. I say it every night. I don't know how anyone gets a hit in the big leagues anymore. That's how good the pitching has been. But having said that, Jeff, 3 different players, Michael Taglia, Ryan McMahon, and Brian Reynolds, through Tuesday had already struck out 40 times in a season. And another half dozen guys are maybe going to get to 40 before we get to May, depending on what happens in Wednesday's games. 40 strikeouts, Jeff, before we get to May. And again, different time, different players, different understanding. But Tony Gwynn's biggest strikeout season was 40. Joe DiMaggio's was 39. Yogi Berra's was 38. And we will have almost 20 different players striking out 38 or more times before we get to May. That's the strikeout rate that we're seeing.
Well, I have a little bit of a strikeout takeaway. Tuesday night, the Cubs played the Pirates and didn't strike out the entire game for the first time since 2013 against the Athletics.
Right. Again, when you see a 0 strikeout game by either team, it just leaps off the page. All right, now, Jeff, let's see how well you've been listening to Old Pop-Up all these years now. What is the most famous, at least one that we know, 0 strikeout game by both teams in Major League history? Don't look it up.
Yes.
Okay. It's a famous game, Jeff.
Yeah, it's
It's a
the
game
night
7. Say it.
Yankees,
Yes.
Pirates,
Yes.
game 7 of the
Yes.
World Series
Yes.
in 1960? What? 60,
Yes.
60, 60.
60.
Yeah, all right. Woo! Well,
Jeff,
why did we talk about that a couple of weeks ago? What was did we have a guest that was related to that of
no,
sorts?
it's Roberto Clementi's name came up. Bill Mazeroski's name came up.
Oh, that was it.
Right.
It was Bill Mazeroski.
Jeff,
That was
you're really getting good at this. I'm so proud of you. Now, the
Okay.
last one, Jeff, on the takeaways, I'm stealing from Greg Colley, our baseball producer at Baseball Tonight and everything else. So Tim Tawa is now the second baseman for the Diamondbacks because of injuries to Ketel Marte. So Greg insists that Tim Tawa has to get traded at some point in his career to the Red Sox. Do you understand that? Just in case he hits a home run, then he will have light Tawa power, right? Is that do you get it? Is that really bad? Should I be crediting Greg Colley with this, or is this not?
That's great. It's beautiful. Tawa.
Tawa. Only in Boston. And let's be clear, my father grew up in Watertown, so I know that accent very well because every relative I have used to say, pack your car in the Harvard Yard. So I know all about it, right?
There are a lot of Kirkshans in Massachusetts, in Boston. There's a lot of Armenians.
They're all Armenians. All the Kirkchans are Armenians, right?
If it ends with IAN, we'll see you in Watertown. Yes. Isn't that what they say?
Absolutely.
All right, Dad, what about any Corkchins you have for us?
There were many this week, of course. And so Brandon Nimmo knocked in 9 runs in one game for the Mets. That tied the club record for RBIs in one game by a Met. He had a 192 batting average going into the game. So that's the lowest batting average in the history of baseball of anyone who went on to drive in 9 runs in that game. Okay. He also drove in 9 runs from the 6th inning on. So he and Mike Moustakas 2015 are the only players ever to have a 9 RBI game with 0 RBIs before the 6th inning. He had 9 RBIs in a 3-inning stretch. And he's one of only 3 players that have ever done that. Think about driving in 9 runs in 3 innings, which means he drove in as many runs, 9 in 3 innings, as Shohei Ohtani had for the season. Shohei Ohtani had 9 RBIs going into that game, and Brandon Nimmo had 9 RBIs in 3 innings. What does this prove, Jeff? It proves the beauty of baseball, that if you watch it closely enough, it will just make you slap your forehead on a daily basis. So the other thing, the Yankees have been setting home run records for the entire month of April. So Tuesday night, the first 3 batters in the lineup all hit home runs. That's the second time in the month of April that the Yankees did that. So they're the only team in history to do that twice in the same season. The first 3 batters of the game hit a homer, and they did it before we even got to May.
And they did it in the same month. It's unbelievable.
And they hit 4 homers in that inning. So they're the only team in baseball that has ever had 2 4-home run first innings in any season, and they did it before the month of May. And this is so interesting. Aaron Judge, of course, was part of these back-to-back-to-back home runs in the first inning twice. And the only other guy that I know that did that ever was J.J. Hardy, who I told you about. He did it as a member of the Brewers. First 3 guys in the order hit homers. J.J. Hardy was one of them. Went to the Orioles. And in one game, first 3 batters for the Orioles hit home runs. J.J. Hardy was one of them. So, home runs in the first inning, the Yankees have done it at a historic pace so far.
I'll edit him, but Aaron Boone was right when he said, my guys are savages. I'll tell you.
He was absolutely right. Okay, from home runs to triples, Jeff. Mike Trout hit his 55th triple the other day. So that tied Starling Marte for the most triples among active players. So just to show you that the triple has essentially disappeared. Going into this season, 55 triples was the most Starling Marte among active players. That is the lowest mark of any season in Major League history. No season has ever started with the career triples leader having only 55 triples. The last time before this decade that anyone had, like fewer than 70 triples and was the triples leader was Harry Stovey in 1885. He had 64 triples. So again, Jeff, this just shows the triple has been replaced by the home run. I've told you, Babe Ruth had 136 triples. Right now, the active leader is Mike Trout and Starling Marte with 55. Does that amaze you or not?
What also amazes me, Dad, is baseball seems to be the only sport that you can't just say 85.
Right. Yeah.
In 85, because
Right.
I would have to ask in 18 or 1985.
Right, Jeff, because that's the beauty of the sport. Baseball, as I've said many times, it's the only sport where the modern era is defined as 1900 on. That's the modern era. That's unbelievable.
And that's why you made this your life's work, because it makes you feel young, right?
Yes, absolutely.
You've spent your entire career and life in the modern era, and I'm proud of you.
All right, last thing, Jose Urena got a save for the Mets the other day. He gave up 5 runs and got a save, Jeff. Think about that for a second. How do you get a save when you give up 5 runs in a game? Well, if you pitch the last 3 innings of a game, no matter what the score is, and it says if you pitch effectively, you can be credited with a save. So I went back to try to find the last guy to give up 5 runs in a game and get the save. And Cooper Criswell of the Red Sox did that this year on April the 6th. So it wasn't quite as rare as I thought it would be. And then interestingly, the day after Urena got the save, he was designated for assignment. He was essentially cut after recording a save in which he gave up 5 runs. That is pretty weird and pretty hard to do.
On this date in baseball history, Dad, May the 1st, what do you have for us?
Well, it was a really big day in baseball history because this was the date that Rickey Henderson broke Lou Brock's stolen base record. Rickey, of course, is one of the at least 15 best players of all time, greatest base stealer ever, not a close second, and the greatest leadoff man of all time. So let's make sure we understand who we're talking about with Rickey Henderson. So he and Lou Brock, as I've told you, Jeff, became really good friends. And Lou and Rickey combined to write a little note, a little letter that Rickey was going to read after he broke Lou Brock's record. So he steals third that day at the Oakland Coliseum. And when he gets to third, Rickey is so caught up in the emotion, as he should have been. He pulls third base out of the ground, holds it over his head, and said, "Today I am the greatest of all time." And and Lou Brock is looking at him because the game begins again. And Lou calls him after the game and said, "Rickey, what about the letter we wrote?" And Rickey said it was in his back pocket. And he said, "Sorry, I forgot to read it," which was just a shame. So I just think we all need to understand how great Rickey was. And it's just so touching that he and Lou Brock became such good friends, even while Rickey was in the process of breaking Lou Brock's record.
I think it's so important, too, because, you see like Wayne Gretzky passing the puck off, so to speak, to Alex Ovechkin. And, obviously Lou Gehrig was not around when Cal Ripken broke his record. But to have respect for somebody who breaks your record, that is so important for what sports is all about. I think it's really, really cool.
Right. And also on this date in 1991, same day, Nolan Ryan pitched his 7th and final no-hitter. Remember, no one else has ever come close to 7 no-hitters, and he did it at age 44. So after the game, a bunch of friends and family were lined up waiting to congratulate him, and he came out into the hall, and he told the assembled friends and family, "I'll be out a little bit later. I got to ride the exercise bike first." So at age 44, he threw his 7th no-hitter, and he got on the exercise bike for 45 minutes and made everybody wait, because the work always came first for Nolan Ryan. So when you wonder why he's the hardest pitcher to hit in Major League history and the greatest power pitcher of all time, that story tells it all. Nolan, as I've told you before, Jeff, one of the most beloved players in Major League history. And we once asked Rance Mulliniks of the Blue Jays years ago, because everyone loved Nolan Ryan. Someone asked Rance Mulliniks once, what would the world be like if everyone was Nolan Ryan? And Rance Mulliniks said, everyone would love each other and no one would get a hit. And that's who Nolan amazing. Ryan is, Jeff.
Coming up next here on Is This a Great Game or What? The greatest players to wear number 11 and number 12. That's from Ozzy to Oral. The greatest Houston Astro of all time. Another I Am a Seamhead. And then, Dad, you said you've queued up a Team Tim that I do not know anything about. I am not informed, so I cannot condone what comes out of my father's mouth. But we'll find out what it is coming up next. Jumping right in, Dad, from Ozzy to Oral, the best players at each number, and we are to number 11.
All right, this was not easy, Jeff. Carl Hubble wore number 11. Edgar Martinez, Hall of Famer like Carl Hubble, wore number 11. But I am going with Barry Larkin, in part because he was a shortstop as opposed to Edgar Martinez, who I love, one of the greatest hitters I've ever seen. But Barry Larkin did it on both sides of the ball. He won 3 Gold Gloves. He made 12 All-Star teams. He won an MVP. He had a WAR of 70.5, which is pretty darn good for a shortstop. 295 lifetime hitter, stole 379 bases, OPS of 815. One of the great athletes ever to play shortstop in the big leagues. Remember, Jeff, he was a great defensive back in high school, and he could have played football at Michigan, but he ended up playing baseball and made a Hall of Fame career out of it. So I'm going with him as my greatest number 11.
I love it, Dad. From Ozzy to Oral, who's the best player to wear number 12?
Right. I think this is relatively easy with all due respect. It's Roberto Alomar, 300 lifetime hitter, 210 homers, 1,134 RBIs, 474 stolen bases. And Jeff, he was the best player on 2 championship teams for the Blue Jays. The team that repeated 92-93, he was their best player on those teams. I think he's the best defensive second baseman that I've ever seen. Now, again, Bill Mazeroski holds all the records, and I didn't see Bill Mazeroski well enough, but when it came to throwing arm, range, everything, I'm not sure I've ever seen a second baseman defensively who was better than Roberto Alomar. I went to do a story on him once, Jeff. He had a great sense of humor. So I went to Puerto Rico for Sports Illustrated to do a story on him when he signed a huge contract to go to the Orioles. So we go to lunch at TGI Fridays in Puerto Rico, okay? And it's a very leisurely lunch, and he's dressed in a sweatsuit, as he should be. So we walk out of TGI Fridays in Puerto Rico, which of course is Roberto Alomar's home country. And we're standing there, and a lady comes up to him and gives him her valet ticket and says, "Can you go pick up my car?" She thought he was parking cars at TGI Fridays. It was the funniest thing. He laughed out loud, and before he explained to her, "I'm not a valet. I don't work here." And after she left, he looked at me and he said, "I could buy this entire chain of restaurants if I wanted," because he had just signed this enormous contract. It was just a beautiful look into Roberto Alomar, who was an amazingly good player.
The polo I'm wearing right now, Dad, this red polo, I was wearing it once with khaki pants inside of a Target.
Right.
Twice. Someone came up and asked for where something was. Twice.
Jeb, it's understandable.
Gotta be careful. Red. Right. With khaki in a Target, don't even think about it. It's like blue with khaki in a Best Buy. What are you doing to yourself? You're just asking for it.
Got it.
All right, Dad. I think the best of all Tim this week needs to be the Houston Astros, given who our amazing guest was yesterday, Steve Sparks. What do you think?
Steve Sparks, of course, is the radio color broadcaster on the Astros games. And if you're driving along, listening to games on XM radio, please tune in and listen to him and Robert Ford, the play-by-play guy. They are great. He is so good. So, yes, we're doing the best of all. Tim, the best player in the history of each franchise. We're picking the Houston Astros this week. And this was not easy either because Craig Biggio is in this group very, very close to the top. But I'm going with Jeff Bagwell instead. Played his entire career like Biggio did for the Astros. Lifetime 297 hitter, 449 homers, 1,529 RBIs. OPS, Jeff, of 948. Jeff, he scored 1,500 runs and drove in 1,500 runs. That is really hard to do. He's a Gold Glove first baseman. He won an MVP, of course. He won a Rookie of the Year. And he was a great soccer player, Jeff, in college. And he was one of the best base runners in the game. Not because he was one of the fastest guys on the field, but he was such a great base runner because he had such great feet. So all you young people who we talk about all the time, one reason Jeff Bagwell was such a great baseball player is he was a great soccer player at the University of Hartford. And you could make a case, you certainly can make a case Bagwell's one of the 10 best first basemen of all time. But others will tell you he's one of the 5 or 6 best first basemen of all time. That's how good Jeff Bagwell was. And for me, he's the greatest Houston Astro ever.
One of these weeks, Dad, I'm going to do an all-Jeff team. I already know I got Bagwell and Kent, first and second base, and I'm just going to rifle through them one of these days, the all-Jeff team. Because do you think, right off the top of your head, would the all-Jeff team beat the all-Tim team? We need to get our friends at Stratomatic on this.
That's a really good question.
First name Tim or Timothy, first name Jeff or Jeffrey, 2 different teams, 1 game. Maybe even a 5-game series. We'll do. I want to put this. I want to put a pin in this. Okay.
Right.
I think that would be really, really fun to do. You come up with your all Tim team. I'll come up with my all Jeff team, and we'll go back to our friends at Stratomatic and have them run it and see which team is better.
All right. We'll do that for next week. And Jeff, you are becoming a seam head right in front of my eyes, and couldn't be prouder that my son is starting to ask these questions. What's the all Jeff team? What's the all Tim team? All right, we'll do that for next week, okay?
Prouder or disappointed that I'm stooping down to your level, either or.
I've corrupted you, Jeff. I'm sorry.
I love it.
I feel like I've corrupted some of our listeners and our viewers also, but it's a good corruption, Jeff. When you have a little bit of fun with a beautiful game like this is why we're on the air, Jeff. This is why we're doing this, to make sure that people understand what a wonderful, beautiful game this is.
Dad, speaking of seam heads, I am a seam head, our new segment. If you want to submit a submission, all you got to do is email me, jeff@greatgamerwhat.com. Send me a voice memo, 30 to 40 seconds. End it with, I'm Jeff Kirkshin, and I am a seam head, obviously your own name, but explaining in that first part what makes you a seam head, Dad. Today, Joey Malik. I have to say, Joey Malik sent you a bit of a seam head moment back in 2009. To the Baseball Tonight program, and he is now sharing that with us. He said you ended up sharing this on the air. Before we get to it, though, Dad, he said, last week you had David Firstman on for the segment. Like me, David is a professional Scrabble player.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay, and he had noted that Dustin Ackley had 12 letters in his name, 12 different letters. While impressive, he came up with Buck Showalter has 13. And he adds that his favorite shortest word in the English language containing all the letters in Yankees is moneymakers.
Really?
So the shortest word in the English language that you can spell Yankees out of is moneymakers. So pretty neat. So he added all of that to the email, Dad. And he also, funny fact, his dad went to high school with Carl Ravitch's dad.
Really? Jeff,
yeah.
I keep telling you, one of the beauties of baseball is there are connections all over the place. Do you know? I ask people all the time. Do you know this guy? Oh yeah, I played with him in winter ball. Oh, I played with him in Bakersfield. Yep. So you're telling me Buck Showalter, who I spoke with yesterday, has more letters in his last name without a repeating letter than anyone. Is that what you're telling me?
No, I believe it is in his first and last name. Buck Showalter, 13 letters, the most without repeating.
Well, I'm going to call Buck and tell him that because yesterday he and I had the stupidest conversation ever. Now, Jeff, I need to share this with you, okay? It's a pet peeve of mine, and I was slapped on the wrist the other day at Baseball Tonight, okay? I do not understand when the trainer goes to the mound to check on the pitcher who is injured. We call him the athletic trainer. I mean, seriously, Jeff, what else is he? What is he, a dog trainer, an elephant trainer? Of course, he's an athletic trainer. And I think it's redundant. So when I brought this up to the assembled guys of Baseball Tonight off camera the other day, um, our boy Bushy there, who is one of the producers on the show, he said, my dad is an athletic trainer and he is offended if you just say a trainer goes to the mound. You have to call him an athletic trainer. So I was corrected on this, and that's okay. I needed to learn. I just don't think you send a personal trainer to the mound and say, I think we need to do some lunges before you make this next pitch. I still think you just send the trainer to the mound. That's how I always referred to that guy who went to the mound to make sure the pitcher's all right, is the trainer. Well, now I stand corrected. He is the athletic trainer.
Well, good to know. Good to know, along with the MLB. These are things I'm logging that I don't screw up, okay?
Right.
Well,
Gotcha.
Let's get back to I'm a Seamhead. You and I could go off all on our pet peeves here. So back to our new friend, but not so new to you, Dad. You've been in touch with him before. He sent you this submission. Joey Malik is a Seamhead. Let's listen.
On June 27, 2009, in a game between the Boston Red Sox and the Atlanta Braves, Mark Kotsay, George Kataris, and Casey Kochman all played in the same game, the only three players in the history of baseball whose surname started with K-O-T. Now, I pointed this out to Tim, and he even referenced me by name on Baseball Tonight that night, so I can definitely say I'm Joey Malik, and I am a Seamhead.
I love, Dad, that 16 years later, and you remember him sending this in, right?
Oh, I remember like it was yesterday. I remember putting it on the air that night. I've written a bunch of things over the years, and I've included Joey Malik's name in there. And I double-checked, and unless I've gotten something wrong, they are still the only three players, Mark Kotsay, George Kataris, and Casey Kochman, to start their names with K-O-T. I checked this morning, and unless I've missed somebody, it still goes 16 years later. How about that?
It's pretty incredible. 16 years later, it stays true, and it's back on I Am a Seamhead for Is This a Great Game or What? Again, if you want to submit, it's really easy. Record a voice memo on your phone, and then email that voice memo to me, jeff@greatgameorwhat.com. Dad, I have no idea what you have planned for Team Tim, so I'll let you take it from here.
All right. Well, Jeff, again, this is the theme of the week. It's your wedding anniversary. You and Emily were married 3 years ago. The day we're taping this, April 30th, 2022 is the day that you got married. So I have, and I think you've heard part of this before, the all romance team as a tribute to you and Emily. The catcher is Rick Sweet. First baseman is Ryan Court. Court a young lady, at least you did in the 30s and 40s.
Right, when you were dating. Yeah.
Right. Ryan Bliss, thank you for that, Jeff. It was unnecessary. Ryan Bliss is the second baseman. Jonah Bride, my new favorite, is the third baseman. Joe Sparks is the shortstop. And of course, we had Steve Sparks on, but I needed a shortstop. Bobby Valentine is one outfielder. Bo Allred is another outfielder. I never heard of this guy, but I looked him up. Beauty McGowan is one of our outfielders, and our pitchers are my favorite. Slim Love, Ron Darling, Richard Lovelady, Brian Woo a woman. I was never any good at that. Mark Church, which is where you get married. And my favorite, and this is a tribute to you, Jeff, Buddy Groom.
That's a great one.
Buddy Groom, who's almost 60 years old. And I've told you, Jeff, I just want Buddy Groom to come out of retirement and face Jonah Bride in one at bat. It would be the greatest moment of our entire lives. Your life, my life, everyone's life.
Dad, you blew it again.
What?
Bo Jackson. Bo. Your bow. Dad, I'm going to take so many messages now.
Oh my gosh.
He blew it again.
But Bo is spelled B-E-A-U, not B-O. I'll take...
Oh, and like you haven't made something stretch farther than that?
Right. Look, your stretch with Chris Sale today was so bad, so don't talk to me about stretching. That was worse than anything Willie McCovey ever did, and his nickname was Stretch.
That was worse than the Kirchens against the Celtics down by 50.
Please. All right, Jeff, we need to end this. You've got a meeting. Let's go.
Yeah, so next week, I said it at the top of the show, a Hall of Fame baseball pitcher will be our guest.
Can we not tell people who it's going to be?
No. Well, we can. I mean, who cares? It's our show. Do we want to tell them?
Yes, we've got Tom Glavine, Hall of Fame pitcher, on next week, and he's going to talk a lot of hockey with us because we don't know anything about hockey. He's going to talk golf with us. He's going to talk a lot of baseball with us. He was so enlightening on so many different topics, and he made us laugh out loud several times.
Make sure to tune in for that. That'll be this coming Wednesday, and then, of course, episodes on Tuesday and Thursday as well. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 3 episodes a week. Don't miss a single one. Subscribe wherever you're listening right now, whether it's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, plenty of places. You can listen right on our website, greatgamerwhat.com, and we'll see you next week. Thank you for listening, and as always, thank you for being a part of our family.